Ecuador's economy played a major role in this election, with voters being asked to choose between continuity and change. Joining me now is Joseph Humire with the Center for a Free Society. Joseph, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks, Susan. Always a pleasure.
Nice to see you. Well, we heard our reporter there, Dan Collins, on the scene saying that Moreno is getting ready to serenade the crowd. You've got dueling rallies going on. Both sides think they're winning. This is going to be a real nail-biter.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, what's really awkward is they're completely contradictory results. You're talking on one side, one exit poll saying that Guillermo Lasso, the opposition candidate, is winning by a margin of 5 points, which is well over the margin of error. But the other poll completely says the inverse, that the Lenin Moreno, the establishment candidate, is winning by the same margin, by 5 points. So somebody's got to be wrong. I guess we'll find out hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, they're completely contradictory results, and one, they tell two different stories and hold the fate of the country in their hands.
Dan Collins said there were accusations of electoral fraud. Can you address that?
Well, you know, I agree with the commentator. I didn't see any fraud. I haven't heard too much about fraud. There's been a lot of speculation, accusations, but nothing that showed any evidence of fraud. However, with two completely contradictory results, you know, you start to suspect a little bit that somebody's wrong. So somebody made a mistake, or there may be some fraud in between. We'll see what happens. The Sedatos poll. The Sedatos is a respected polling firm. The one that predicted, or the one that's showing that Guillermo Lasso has a 5-point lead. That is a respected polling firm that's been used in Ecuadorian presidential elections in the past. I wouldn't suspect fraud on their end, but you know, you never know.
This is such a rural area. Many parts, you've got the Galapagos Islands to consider. This is going to be hard to really to predict, I would imagine.
It is going to be hard to predict, but I think, Susan, you touched on a good point right in the beginning. You said the economy played an important role, and I think it does. At the end of the day, you know, Ecuador is a petroleum-producing nation. About 40% of the government earnings comes from petroleum exports, and that's reduced dramatically since the price of oil has dropped. So that played a big role in this election. The GDP growth of Ecuador has been slashed over half since 2012. It used to grow at 5%. It's now growing at 2%. So there's been a slowdown in the economy. That would indicate probably a favor in a change of government, basically a new mandate, a new government coming in. That would be Guillermo Lasso. That would be what I think that trend would be reciprocal of what we've been seeing in other parts of South America, in Argentina and Peru and Brazil. However, you know, we won't know that for sure until hopefully a few hours or maybe even a few days. But that the economy definitely is going to play, it definitely is playing a big role.
So what will the incoming president have on his agenda? What will he need to do immediately regarding the economy?
Well, I think they're going to have to find investment. You know, Ecuador is one of the worst countries in Latin America, right next to Salvador, when it comes to foreign investment. They're going to find different investors. They're going to have to diversify their investment and find different ways to create alliances with other nations to begin a more robust trade agenda, because they're not going to just be able to depend on one commodity, which is oil and gas. That aside, they're also going to have a lot of political ramifications in the region that are developing. One is particularly right to their northern neighbor, which is Venezuela. Venezuela is in a very precarious situation. It's very unstable, and that country is on the verge of a major crisis at any minute. And obviously, the Ecuadorian the country of Ecuador is going to have to deal with that, but the president is going to have to take a leadership role in addressing that situation. So hopefully we'll see what they will do.
In Argentina, Brazil, and even Peru, we've seen the shift to the right. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's behind this? Explain a little bit more in detail.
Sure. I think there's two major developments that have taken over the last half-decade that have shifted the sway of political winds over to the right in Latin America. One is the decline of the commodity boom. There just frankly isn't, you know, oil's dropped, but not just oil, other minerals, other commodities have also dropped. There just isn't as much consumption in the world of these commodities as there once was when Latin America was really booming during the first decade of the 21st century. So that's one. The second, I'd say, is failed policies of like-minded governments, most notably Venezuela. The whole region is looking at Venezuela and the policies of nationalization and government intervention in the economy, and seeing how that has led to a complete economic disaster in that country. And many citizens in these other countries are saying, we don't want to go that road. Whatever takes us another road, an opposite direction, that's the path we're going to choose. And these other candidates, these center-right candidates in Argentina and Peru, now in Ecuador, have been very smart to take that position, to say that we are going to go a different direction. We are not going to go the direction of the 21st century socialism, or whatever the mandate they called before. And that, I think, has appealed many voters.
Well, Joseph Humire, thank you. It will be an exciting 24 to 48 hours to see what happens. I'm sure we'll be speaking with you again. Thank you for joining us. Yep.